Let me give little background how the Book of Fate was composed, how Shivandu wrote the Book of Fate. Very briefly. In fact, there are a lot of details, but that we can see sometime later. But today, I will quickly mention a couple of things. In a letter written in 1946 to Amal Kiran. At that time, in 1946, Amal Kiran was in Bombay, and he is one of the 2 or 3 persons with whom Shivandu had kept correspondence till the end. Amal Kiran, Dilip Kumar Roy, and in 1 or 2 other instances of political details, you see. But mostly letters which he wrote after the accident, after 1938, were only to Amal Kiran and Dilip Kumar Roy. And for Amal Kiran, he had preserved the province of poetry for correspondence. See. And he used to raise questions, he used to ask questions, and like that. And Shivandu would answer those questions also. He would even send his drafts to Amal Kiran. So in 1946, it's a long, long letter. One of the passages in the letter says that he is narrating how the book of, how Savitri was developing at that time. First book, second book, third book, how it was developing around 1946, he is narrating, and the part pertaining to the Book of Fate is here. The Book of Birth and Quest and the Book of Love have been completed by 1946. What we have seen earlier, this refers to the Book of Birth and Quest, that is Book 4, and the Book of Love, Book 5, were ready by 1946. The Book of Fate is almost complete. He says that he was still working on that, you see. Now, before I go into other details, let me show you here a sample of the manuscript of the Book of Fate, you see. How he wrote, how he dictated, how corrections were made, how changes were made. It is an impossible job. It is an impossible job, you see. You can very clearly see Shivandu's handwriting here. And you can also see the lines dictated by him to Nirodbaran. Nirodbaran's hand is here, for instance, here. In this part, you got Nirodbaran's hand. All these marginal things are in Nirodbaran's hand. And then he says, insert this line there, do this thing, transfer that thing. See, all kind of instructions were given and then recorded at that time. See. And it is from this kind of manuscripts the typing was done. So Shivandu used to dictate, Nirodbaran used to take down the dictations either on the existing drafts or new dictations. Then they used to go for typing to Nalini Kantagupta. He used to do the typing, and then the type sheets were read out to Shivandu. Type thing. And again, on the typescript, he will dictate, he will change, he will do this, he will do that, all kind of things would be there. And again, the final copy. So it went on like that through a number of processes. In 1946, it was impossible for Shivandu to read things himself. So he had to, this had to be read out to him, you see, all those things. So naturally it means that, see, when you are writing something, you are concentrating and focusing on certain details in a certain manner. When you are dictating and listening and then dictating, see, there are differences of certain kinds which occur, you see. But that is how Savitri developed, and that is how we have got. So this is one sample page of the Book of Fate, you see, how it the complexity. Now, therefore, I can quite understand that during this kind of a draft and the final thing which we have got here, there could be changes, there could be mistakes, there could be slips, there could be distortions, whatnot, whatnot, whatnot. I mean, it's perfectly understandable, you see. The typist might not have seen something and he has done something here and all that kind of a thing, you see. But then that is the risk Shebantu had taken. That is his privilege to take that risk. And whatever comes to him at that time is his privilege to change or dictate or accept or whatever it is. You can't simply then go and stick to what you have here. His privilege is there at every point. Even if one comes in TypeScript, yes, this change, the typist has mistake, all right, okay, so what? There. But he has already seen that thing, heard that thing many times like that. And therefore, I would say that all that we could do is for our pleasure, for our happiness. List down the differences between what we are here and what is there. What we are here and what is there. You list down those differences. Don't say change this with that. That is not our province at all. It cannot be, you see. All that you can say is that, well, this is what has come out, but what Shebantu has got is like this. You point out, show them, display them, and let clever people keep on arguing and discussing and all those things, you see. So that is a separate province altogether. So I will go entirely the way in which it has come out as the first edition of Savitri. And from that point onward, the rest is scholarly work. It is a separate department altogether, you see. So this is what we have in the as a sample. This one, you see. Now there is something I have seen this in myself, the drafts in the original when we are discussing all these issues. The opening passage of Savitri, of the Book of Fate. I had discussed that thing in some details here also. The opening passage of the Book of Fate, there are 83 lines, starting from in silent bounds, 106, 106.1 to 106.14. We got here 83 lines in the final. 1 to 14, 14 sentences. 106. In silent bounds, see that it goes on like that. And then you see here 106.4 afterwards the contracting and expanding this huge world. After that, in the fascicle, which was published in August 1950, of the Book of Fate, I am talking about this passage. In that particular fascicle, the lines which are there in the blue, they are missing. They are not present in the fascicle which was published in 1950. That was in Shebantu's own time, you see. All these lines, the secret might, etc., 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 all the way up to quite a large number of lines, 30 lines, I think. Well, rather, out of these 83 lines, there were only 30 lines present in the fascicle. Means almost 50 lines were missing. All these lines in blue are absent in the 1950 fascicle, which was published during the time of Shebantu himself. And return into the one from whom they came in his formidable circuit through the void. Now this particular line in violet is missing in the 50 edition, but is present in the revised edition. It is, in fact, it is missing in all the earlier editions of Savitri prior to the revised edition, this line. So from that line to this line are not present in the fascicle, but fortunately, immediately, somehow, I don't know how, somehow, the missing lines were noted. Something was felt uneasy. And then they checked the manuscript again and they restored in this edition all those missing lines from the fascicle in 1950 itself, you see. So when the first edition of Savitri came, you have all these lines except this line. It is formidable circuit through the void. Except that line, all the other lines are present in the 50 edition. Now, I have seen it myself by handling the papers. These lines which are there here in the blue are dictated lines by Sriaurobindo. And they have been dictated on a writing pad, writing pad, you see. And what happens is the line ends here, the page on the writing pad ends with this line here. And on the other line, all the lines are in blue here, present here, all the way up to here. And then again, the regular passage comes here. So while typing, these two pages got stuck together and the material between those two was missed. The material in between those blue lines were missed while typing, you see. And that is how it got printed also, you see. But immediately that was noticed and the lines which are missing, they have been restored in the final version. And there's a pattern like that. You are turning pages and while turning, okay, two pages got turned together, you see. So all those lines were missing that, you see. That is how those blue lines are absent in that, you see. But then they have come back also, you see. So these are the hazards through which Savitri progressed. So these are some of the intricacies of Savitri composition, and as she has shown you that manuscript also one, how complex the whole thing is, you see. And it can happen, all kinds of things can happen, you see. This is a fairly long one. We will not go into these details of how the Book of Fate was composed and all that. After editing the revision of the manuscripts of Book 4 and Book 5, she had to turn to Book 6 in the Book of Fate. And then it was right until late 1950 that he would finish the Book of Fate. The last book of Savitri to be completed. In notebook, Sriaurobindo used in 1927 contains 3 pages of what was then the third book called Fate. See, 3 pages have become now 1600 lines, you see, from a notebook. See. Otherwise, almost no evidence has been found that he worked on any book after the Book of Law. Later books of revision, etc., all that thing. Basically, you can say that the Book of Fate is a composition after 1946. And therefore, we can also say that it contains the maturest spiritual philosophy, spiritual vision, the occult charge in the Book of Fate. Not the earlier trials and attempts. These details you can see sometime later on, but they are there. How the Book of Fate was composed, like that, you see.